Hey, y'all, what's up? This is Coach Paul. God has qualified me, and I'm bringing to y'all another Move Monday episode. As usual, y'all, before we get off into the content of the day, I have to say this, and I strongly encourage you to get this into your thought process so that you can incorporate this into your lives. And that is, now watch this. If you don't move it, it's going to move you. That, my friends, is 100% a promise. All right, let's get off into what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to give you all a short story, and I want you all to hold that thought because I'm going to round back up to it. All right. This was back, it was when I was living in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And this was 30-something years ago. This happened 30-something years ago, minimum. My brother was riding the bus, public transportation one day, and he happened to be in a deep conversation with this older white guy. It wasn't a bad conversation. It wasn't about, racism, none of that kind of stuff. It was a really good conversation that he was having. And they got to this one particular stop, and there was a piece of undeveloped land, nice big piece of undeveloped land that was there. And the guy told him, he says, they're going to build a prison right there for your grandchildren. And he wasn't being funny or racist or mean or evil. He was just giving him a reality of what society was planning. See, they had a vision for the future, and the vision for the future was we're going to build more prisons because we're going to need more prisons to put the people that we plan on putting in them. All right, hold that thought. Let me get to what I'm going to talk about. Now, today's subject or today's title is, if you don't have a vision for your future, you will return to your past. If you don't have a vision for your future, you will return to your past. Now, let me get the past people. That's what I call them. Not nothing bad. I'm not saying I'm better than anybody or trying to put anybody down. However, I call them past people because, let me explain why. Have you ever been around some people or somebody that all they talk about, watch this, the entire conversation that they have with you is about what they had, what they did, where they been? It's always about their past. I had this, I did that, I've been there, this, that, or the other. The entire conversation is talking about that. Those are what I call past people. Those are people, unfortunately, that doesn't have a vision for their future, so they're not going to do any movement or moving towards their future. They're not planning on doing any movement or moving towards their greatness. Unfortunately, it's that way. Again, let me get that out of the way right now. Like I said, many of you all out there who are watching this episode know somebody who that's all you've heard them say, what they did, what they had, where they've been. And unfortunately, while they're having that conversation with you or talking about that, you're looking at them have absolutely nothing in their present, unfortunately. All right. So again, if you don't have a vision for your future, you will return to your past. And one of the things that God has been working with me on, and I want to share what he has said to me. He said, vision isn't about what you can physically see. A vision, it isn't about what you and I can physically see. And that's part of the reason why many of us are so inclined to move out of our greatness and back into our past, because when we talk about vision, many of us base vision off what we can physically see. And if you can physically see it, it's not a vision. And so I want us to understand that vision is 100% not based off of what you can see with the physical eye. It's an inner vision. It's an inner portrait. It's an inner video. It's an inner picture, right? That's what a vision is. And again, you can't see it with your physical eye. And so I understand why many of us end up going back to where we came from, because again, we are not able to see it with our physical. If we don't see it with our physical eye, more often than not, we're going to think it is not real. And we'll go back to where we came from, even though, or even if where we came from is hell. Let me say that again, because how do I know? Okay, I dropped my top. That's okay. Many of us, because we can't see it with the physical eye, and things aren't going the way that our understanding and our physical eye is saying that it's supposed to go, we'll go back, even though we know that where we came from is hell. Now, let me prove it. When God brought the Hebrews out of the land, out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery, out of the land of hell, they went through hell in Egypt. If you know anything about the story of the Hebrews and Moses and all of that, you would understand that the Hebrews went through a physical and visual hell. They saw it. They lived it. They were a part of it for many, 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 many years. And God had a vision that he gave Moses. And he told Moses, go get the people, because I'm about to bring this vision that I gave you, that I've already saw because I created it. I'm about to bring this vision to fruition. But I need you to go get the people and bring them up out of there so that they can come into the vision that I have for each and every one of y'all. Now, when Moses went to get them, many of them didn't want to move, because watch this. Here's, unfortunately, some of our reality. We okay with hell. And many of us are okay with hell is because we don't have a vision for heaven. There you go. All right. So even though a lot of them didn't have a vision for their future, they couldn't stay in the past. So they walked out. They left the land of slavery and hell. And because they didn't have a vision for the future, and because the vision that they thought of, they couldn't see it with their physical eyes, they started complaining and crying and shouting and screaming and creating other false gods. They did all manner of craziness. Why? Because they didn't have a vision for the future. And a lot of our people right now listen, the Bible says that there's nothing new under the sun. Let me explain that to you. There's absolutely nothing new under the sun. So let me go back. They were doing all kind of crazy stuff because they had no vision. And the vision that they had was with the physical eye. And the vision that God had for them was 100% contrary to the vision with the physical eye. So they started doing anything. They started doing any and everything. Ain't that what's going on today? We live in a world right now where many of us, I'm not going to say no one, but there's many of us that are okay with not moving in our greatness because we don't have a vision that's not based off of the physical eye. And so what we are seeing with the physical eye is all kind of hell breaking loose. It's all kind of turmoil. It's all kind of chaos. And we not only operating in it, many of us are creating it, and many of us are feeding it. Wow. That's why so many of us are still stuck in the past. And you got to I want to say this. I don't understand. There was nothing about the past that was heaven. When I think about the madness that I lived in for the 30 plus years that I lived in the madness, I always talk about when I'm working with clients about how I'm doing everything I can to continue to move forward, onward and upward in my greatness, because I always get the opportunity to think about, the past. And I promise you, gentlemen, ladies, everybody listening to this episode, that past was hell. That past was hell. Now, let me say this. I'm not going to say that it was 100% bad, because it wasn't. It had its good moments. For the most part, there's absolutely nothing that I want to do to go back there, because I know what the past looked like. And also, God gave me a vision. And his vision that he has given me, when he gave it to me, I couldn't see it with the physical eye. Watch this, in order for the vision to come into fruition, I have to be the one who is building it and moving in it so that it can happen. That's the only way you're going to see the vision. Now, think about the fact that, again, there's nothing new under the sun. And we live in a world today where it's hell and chaos going on. People are doing any and everything right now in this world. And the overwhelming majority of the people in the world today are not walking in their greatness. The overwhelming majority of the people in the world today are not moving in the extraordinary potential that God has put inside of each and every one of us. The overwhelming majority of the people in the world today are not operating in vision. The overwhelming majority of people in the world today are operating in past and doing anything under the sun. Now, here's one of the reasons why I've been moved to talk about that. I remember to talk about this particular subject. I remember back when I was young, lived back home in Chicago, in the projects, poor. Didn't know I was poor, but we were poor, right? And one of the reasons why I didn't know that I was poor is because there were so many programs that we were a part of that was available. So many resources were available to us. We had summer camps. We had trips to amusement parks. We had summer jobs. We had summer programs. We had what do you call these things? It was summer in the park. We had so many different resources that was available to us as kids. We didn't even know that we were poor. Now, I remember in the summertime. Now, the summertime is when everybody is out of school, and in the morning times in the projects, it was almost like, because in the morning time in the projects during the school year, the projects were empty because everybody was at school. Well, in the summertime in the morning until the early afternoon, it was the same way. And one of the reasons why it was the same way, it was because many kids were at camps, many kids were at summer schools, many kids were in these summer programs, many kids were at the amusement parks, and many of us had summer jobs. So everybody was doing something for the summer. Now we had this president, this guy come along and get elected as president. His name was Ronald Reagan. And he cut out all the funding for those programs. Not some of it. He cut out all of the funding for those programs. And when he, now watch this, if you don't have a vision for your future, you will return to your past. And when he cut out all of those programs, the majority of the youth that was a part of those programs had nothing to do. And the gangs came back out of Chicago during that time, 1979, 1980, 1981. The gangs resurfaced in the city of Chicago and all hell broke loose. One of the reasons why Chicago is messed up the way that it is today, in some areas, not all areas, in some areas with the gang violence that's going on, that started when Ronald Reagan cut all of the funding for those programs. Now, again, I don't want y'all to think that this episode is about the government and talking. No, I'm not. No, this is about move. I have greatness to do, but I have to make sure that I make these points that was part of many of us not having a vision and returning to our past, some cause and effect type of situations. Okay, so back to the point. When he cut out all those programs, there was absolutely, it wasn't anything to do, right? Because we didn't have a lot of resources. We were poor. That's when we realized it. And the gangs came back out. And what you see, again, going on right now is a direct result of what started in 1980 and 1981. And because the people didn't have a vision for the future, they returned back to the past, gang banging. Now, I'm grateful for the fact that my mother, she gave us a vision for the future, because gang banging was not on our table. It was not on our agenda. It was not on our plate. Me and my two brothers, we weren't about that. We ran when we saw very early on. Oh no, that's not that's not us. So we moved on from it, and we had a lot of issues with the gangs as a result. But again, here's the past. Here's people returning to the past, doing a lot of the stuff that was being done in the past because they didn't have a vision for the future. Now, let me bring all this together so that I can make the point. Let's bring it to today. All right. God had given me a vision many years ago. And that vision that God had given me was I would have to be walking in my greatness in order to do it. I would have to be moving in my greatness in order to do it. I would have to be operating under extraordinary potential in order to bring the vision to fruition that God had given me. And the vision that he had given me was about helping to better the quality of our thinking so that we could better the quality of our lives. And that included people who sold themselves short because you ended up with drug or alcohol issues. That's people who sold themselves short that ended up in and out of prison. That's people who who are selling themselves short of the greatness by not performing in school to their fullest and extraordinary potential. And so he gave me this vision, right? And I've been operating in this vision. It took, and I know watch this. Watch this. I didn't start to operate in these areas overnight. Let me just take prison for instance. I do prison ministry, right? And I always jokingly say it has never taken me this long to get in the penitentiary when I committed a crime. It took me almost 2 years to get into the prison to be able to minister to the people that's in prison and give them some hope for either getting out of prison or what they're going to do when they get out. It took me almost 2 years. Many of those times during that time that I was trying to get into prison, there were many of those times I wanted to give up because I was going through hell and high water to get there. Excuse me, but God kept reminding me of the vision. It wasn't about what I could see with the physical eye, because what I was seeing with the physical eye was discouraging me, because I felt like, wow, I have a powerful message of you can turn this thing around, because after all, you all know I've been in prison 4 times over 18 years span, in and out jail, in and out of prison. Many of you all know that. And so I got a message to be able to give somebody some hope about you don't have to continue this way, and you can come out of here and walk in your greatness. Walk in the greatness that's attached to your future. You can do it, right? But I'm having hell and high water to get in there. And so again, some of those times I started seeing the vision with my eyes, and the vision with my eyes was all of the blocks and the walls that in the mountains that kept trying to get in the way of me getting in. And some of those times I was ready to quit. And God was like, nope, gave you a vision. Gave you a vision. He had to remind me, right? So I kept going. Same thing with working with people that's in treatment centers, in treatment for alcoholism or drug addiction. Same thing. I went through here. I got my licensing. I got all of the credentials that I needed, right, in order to be able to do this. I have experience on both ends, right? I have personal experience, and I have academic knowledge. I have them both. I'm fully equipped. And I kept getting all of these roadblocks to be able to get into the treatment centers. But I had to keep going, because God had told me the vision is not nothing that you can see with your eyes, with your physical eyes. So I kept going, and I'm in there now, right? The same thing with the schools. Took me a while. I started to get into the schools, and now it's coming to a place where schools are reaching out. Hey, we need. So now here we go. A couple of the schools that I'm working with told me this past week that they are not going to be able to compensate me, because remember I told y'all about Ronald Reagan? Because funding was cut. Nothing new under the sun. And one of the things that was when they said that, I sat down and started seeing the vision with my eyes. And God had to remind me, what did I tell you to do? This vision that I've given you, it's not for the physical eye to see. So if you're going by what you see, you're going to return to your past. But if you're going by the vision, you're going to keep going. And so with that being said, thank you, God, because I was ready to go by what I saw. Now I'm in the process of continuing to go and move forward in that. Here's the point that I want to get to. Remember when I told you all that my brother was in a conversation with an older white guy, and he told him that they were building prisons for his grandchildren. His kids were little. His kids were little babies at the time. His sons and daughters were little babies at the time when he was told this. Well, same situation is going on right now. The resources, now the resources that was available for the underserved were already in the chokehold. Now they're cutting the funding for the underserved. And one of the results that they're looking to is that these underserved who doesn't have the resources will go back to doing what they was doing before and end up in those prisons that they said they were building for my brother's grandchildren. Y'all see you see what's going on? See, they got a vision too. And if we don't have a vision for our future, we're going to bring their vision to fruition. We got to stop this. This is why I'm doing this particular episode. I'm not into politics. I'm not into talking about who did this, that, or the other. I just want you all to see about a plan. See, there's two visions. God has a vision and evil has a vision. God has a plan and evil has a plan for us. So which one of the visions that you're going to follow? And I want you all to understand, like I said it at the beginning, God said, my vision that I give, you can never see it with the naked eye. And so I want you all to stop. I want all of us to start moving in our greatness and stop looking for the vision to be seen with our naked eye. Because when we do that, you're 100% guaranteed that something is going to show up that's not going to look right. And if you're looking at that, you will be inclined to think about, well, maybe I'll go back because this ain't looking right, because that ain't right, because whatever isn't right. I want y'all to hear this. Please hear this, because like I said, there's nothing new under the sun. And what went on in 1980 is going on right now. But if we looking at that, we're going to give into theirs. If we're looking at that with our physical eye, we're going to give into the vision that the evil one has for us. But if we look at it from a spiritual vision standpoint, we're going to move in our greatness. It's just that simple, everybody. It's just that simple. So listen, let me say something. If God gave you a vision, and with whatever is going on that you can see with your naked eye is contrary to that, don't look at it. It's a lie. Because like I said, God said to me, he said, did I tell you that? What did I say? So I'm asking you, what did God say about your vision? And in the words of one of the brothers that I used to hang around, he said, keep it moving. And so with that being said, y'all, I landed the plane. Your vision, if you don't have one for your future, you are going to return to your past. And past people never have anything. Also, vision is 100% never seen with the naked eye. With that being said, this is Coach Paul. I love every last one of y'all. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Till next time, God bless, be well, do the next right thing. And if you're looking for a butt, it's going to always be easy to find one. Deuces.